Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Stuntmen React. We are here with the director, David Leitch, who has an incredible history of stunt work, stunt coordinating, stunt performance.
Oh, there's a great stunt. I gotta tell you about this. It's not really even a stunt.
Into film directing. I mean, everything from John Wick, Atomic Blonde, Bullet Train, the new Fall Guy film that's coming out.
Yes. So all of this stuff is not blue screen. Wow. This is actually, we are dragging that bin across the bridge.
I believe you were a Brad Pitt stunt double for a little while.
Yeah, I was, did 4 movies with Brad.
It's a pretty incredible resume that you have.
Thank you. It's a lot. I've been doing it a long time. I know I don't look that old, but I'm really old. No, I was like, it's been a lot. It's been a lot.
So looking at like your IMDb list, you have this long stretch of projects. Do you feel like there was a breakout moment, or do you think it was just a, let's keep doing it, everybody just keeps getting better and better, and the projects just keep getting bigger and bigger? Or is there one moment you're like, that was the moment
like where my stunt career took off, or like over my career?
Or you feel like, or maybe like where you're like, I'm doing it, I've made it.
Probably the one, I mean, there is sort of a moment when I got the call from Jeff Amata to come double Brad on Fight Club. That was a big moment.
Man, that's huge.
Yeah, that's a big moment.
Huge.
It was really the biggest job on Fight Club was training the actors.
Right.
You know, David Fincher wanted them to do their stuff. The design of the fights in this movie, they were more about the narrative of like this brutality. He wanted it to just feel real and visceral and messy. Like if you really brought these people that have never fought in their life, what would it look like? But then we had to make sure that they could do it safely. And so it was really about spending time with the actors, getting them comfortable with each other, learning the choreography, making it messy. And there's very few moments in the film where they had to use me. You know, Brad was such an incredible athlete anyway. Right. And I think after doing Fight Club, it was when Jean-Claude called. And Jean-Claude was like, it's a little crazy. It's like Jean-Claude again playing, that's me. There on the top shot, you can see it's me. Like Jean-Claude needed someone to fight himself because he's a clone.
Did you have to grow your hair out like that?
No, they had wigs, thank God. And I think Jean-Claude is wearing a wig, shocker. And I met this director, Ringo Lam, and he just became really influential in my life. This is one of the main influences of like why I wanted to become a director. I really loved the intensity he had. I loved sort of the no-nonsense sensibility. Oh, there's a great stunt. I gotta tell you about this. It's not really even a stunt. Okay, I'm up on this thing, right? We tell Jean-Claude, and again, this is not his fault. This is our fault, my fault. You know, Jean-Claude, you can shake it so much, but I'm not tethered in. You know, and I'm supposed to be hanging backwards, right?
Right.
And I'm not tethered in, and he is like shaking the crap out of it. I should have probably webbing strapped my feet in or something. And I remember him tipping the whole thing over. He tips it over, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna land on my head from about 12 feet into the concrete, right? I'm falling, and in slow motion, I just hear this pad go zzz from across the floor, like 20 feet away, Scott Attia slides this pad. Zzz, and I land, I totally taco.
Oh man.
I mean, I would have been knocked out or neck broke. I was like,
shout out to Mr. Attia for that.
Scott just saved my ass.
He just slung that pad into
he's
himself.
acting and he just went.
Yeah, he's just doing it.
Yeah, he's just doing it, right?
And that's some really good like stunt supervision.
But yeah, no, it is like
Just
to
like,
have that awareness.
This will
like,
probably happen. I'll just be ready. There it is.
Yeah, take 2. I think I locked my feet in.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, that's so funny. I haven't seen that in years.
Wow.
Look at 2001, guys.
Sheesh.
With all this talk about Jean-Claude Van Damme, it's got me thinking about how good he is at the splits. And you know what? I want to be good at the splits. So, with the help of today's sponsor, Vessi, I'm going to make that dream come true. Oh, okay, got it. Now let's see if I can get to these talking points before my legs give out. I'm wearing the new Vessi Sternburst low tops. These shoes are so durable and have so much traction that I have confidence to do the splits anywhere, or hike up a mountain trail, or just walk through the city streets. And don't forget, these shoes have the patented Dymatex material, so I can do these splits year round, and my feet will always be the perfect temperature. Not even the rain can stop me from doing the splits in these shoes because they are 100% waterproof. Well, I think I've covered why this is the perfect summer shoe for you. So if you want to pair, go to Vessi.com/cornercrew to get 15% off your first purchase. Well, I think I'm gonna be here for a while, so why don't you guys get back to React? See you next time.
I never forget a fist. I don't mean it like that.
So it seems like you're basically the perfect director for the movie Fall Guy.
Yeah, The Fall Guy, it is the perfect movie for me. Not only did The Fall Guy as a television show sort of light the fuse for a lot of the stunt performers from my generation, the chance to reinvent it and to update it, it was interesting, and like sort of the anecdotes that I had could fill into this movie. Yeah, it's just a rich world of like behind the scenes. The making of a movie is my entire adult life has been on a movie set. And so I couldn't be more excited to make a movie about that. We have a car hit in Fall Guy.
It seemed like the most dangerous stunt to do.
I mean, it's all levels of, danger. I think there's a lot of methodologies behind a car hit. You can do a car hit and have a wire break, sort of a decel on a person. You could do it in, there's an editorial version of a car hit where you could, make it safe. You could do some reverse photography car hit. Like, there's a lot of things that you can do. But again, we were going old school, and this performer who's gonna be doing it is Ben Jenkins.
Yeah.
Who, Ben, he did a lot of Ryan's physical doubling on the movie. And there's a shot of Ben shoulder rolling down the hill. So as we get to this moment, this was his first car hit, and we had a lot of conversations about it, him, Chris O'Hara, and myself, and he's like, "You got any tips for me?" And I'm like, "Get your hips above the hood." That's it.
Dang.
We wanted to do the real old school version of the stunt, which is basically the car is probably going anywhere between 12 and 15, no more than 15. And you need a performer that has an incredible air awareness like Ben, or like a guy or gal who's done gymnastics or trampoline or whatever. That's what makes it sort of repeatable and safe. But you can see, like, they're all different. Like, it'll pitch you in different ways. And if you don't understand where you are in the world, you can't get your head under or your head to a safe place, it could be really bad.
That's the thing that always like makes my stomach tighten is people are doing this without a helmet, and you get bonked weird, and you go down right onto your head, onto the ground. Like that's, and even right now, you see him start to curl around. You're like, and then he spins out of it and rolls and lands perfectly.
He finds himself. Nash Edgerton is actually driving the car. You can kind of see too, like it all depends on how much Nash is driving through the stunt too. So he's got to be aware, like if he sees him in a weird position, I don't want to kill the brakes because I'm going to pitch him. So if you're like slowing down, you want to ease off the brakes, or if he's stuck on the window, you want to hit the brakes so then the guy like flies off this way.
Yep.
So the guy in the car is helping you, and it's sort of this dance that, again, like there's no school to learn how to do this shit.
They try to replicate it. There's places that try to replicate it, but it's not anywhere near what you actually would go through on set.
No.
And I love that you hold the shot through the impact of him hitting the ground and then rolling from it a little bit here. Like it's bang. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I love that you get to watch it happen.
Yeah, again, like there's an editorial version, like we ran 4 cameras on this, where you could make it, boom, 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 boom. But then sometimes it's just great to see they actually did this. Holy crap. Like, there's no way to fake that.
And then Ben gets to go and see this, and he gets to really see his work. Like I really did the car hit, where sometimes if you editorial cut it, then you don't really see the impact, you don't see the fall, you don't see the work that he did, or that they did, because it's a team effort, the driver and the stuntman. Right,
it's true. If we go to the clip of the car roll, in terms about like just sitting in stuff and seeing it. Action, action, action. It's a really important moment in the movie for stunt people.
All right, guys, stay frosty.
3, 2, 1. This is exactly how it feels to do a stunt on a movie. And there's all this expectation like, no, right?
Yeah.
But no, we're gonna keep rolling. The show must go on. We got 7 more cameras. Here we go, Oh shit, what? Oh, here we go. Oh, fuck, here it is, and boom, right? Now, that's Logan Holiday inside the car. And I wanted to show that we did 8.5 rolls. So I double cut and I came back and showed all 8.5 in one take. And Chris and Logan and the effects team spent a lot of time working on the physics of like how we're gonna do this on sand.
Right. Will just kill all of it.
It can kill it.
Absorb
It can kill your momentum. And so he set a Guinness World Record for the number of car rolls. We beat, the last was Casino Royale, which was Adam
Kirby.
Adam Kirby.
Yep. And I love that you just hold it for the whole thing and you let it come to a rest.
And so that was sort of the mandate for Fall Guy, is that we would, again, it's going back to like what we did with John Wick, where you saw the fights. We wanted to make sure you saw the stunts that we were doing. And I mean, this sequence is one of the important ones in the beginning of the movie, setting up the character Colt, but it's also really pretty close to how it feels. And so you feel that, I think, for Colt as a character in the storytelling, but it's also just the reality of stunts, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime we have an industry legend on the couch like David here, there is more than we can put into a YouTube episode. There are stories upon stories, and we put those unbroken into our extended cuts on our website, corridordigital.com. You get something in return, ad-free videos, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. Consider checking it out if you're a fan of the show. It would really help support us.
So this is crazy. We actually shot on the Sydney Harbor Bridge, which is actually impossible to lock down. And I don't think they had done it for over a decade.
Wow.
So all of this stuff is not blue screen.
Wow.
This is actually, we are dragging that bin across the bridge. The spark effects are, a lot of them are practical, some of them are enhanced now in CG, but really, you know, Ryan's on a safety line, but we're dragging him on a platform across the bridge with the bin, and cars are real, and like, this is just like,
It gives me Rumble in the Bronx vibes.
Yeah, totally. I think when the guys were choreographing this sequence, you know, sometimes you have to choreograph this stuff in a soundstage. You can't go out and drive the bin around. And they're just sort of conceptualizing it. And I was like, I just don't think a fight in the back of a garbage bin is going to be as exciting. Like, he needs to go fall out of the bin. And then, you know, Kelly came up with this idea that the door slides off, and then he grabs it with a shovel, and now he's surfing it, which is very Jackie.
Yes.
It wasn't going to be a garbage bin. I was scouting with Chris O'Hara. We're trying to find a vehicle to do this thing in, and he's like, what about one of those garbage bins? And then brought one in the next day, and we tipped it over, and we started to play with it, and then we gave it to the stunt guys, and then we gave it to the effects team. Could you really spin it and us drag it through the city?
Right.
But the reason I think this scene will ultimately be memorable is because it's servicing these two characters, and it's bringing them together. This whole journey is about him trying to get to karaoke on time to see Jody. So that convention is very Jackie as well.
Yes.
You know, like, you know, are these real life and death stakes, but there's also this sort of like character thing that's being pushed along. So if this was just a scene in an action movie where it was good guy versus bad guy, it wouldn't feel as like exciting or we cared. As, you know, but now it's like there's a real purpose for the love story, which is the kind of the driver of Fall Guy. Not that it hasn't been done, but it needed to be revived.
Something I've noticed that you are very good at is taking actors and making them look like action stars. Not to say they aren't already action stars, but both in this film, but also like in Bullet Train, for example. You have this whole cast of characters, you know, all these assassins, but every fight scene looks tight and it looks like they've trained for years. And
well, like it's part of their body.
How are you doing that?
Well, it is that sort of like the secret sauce, and it goes back from some formidable years. One experience was the Matrix films, working on the sequels with Wu Ping's team, and you know, Chad and I really, we were immersed with Wu Ping's team and like doing the choreography with them and like learning how they teach the actors to do it in Hong Kong style, right? Hong Kong films, it's like every actor knows how to fight. It wasn't until The Matrix, the first one, where you saw Lawrence and Keanu do that fight in the dojo, where everyone's like, how did they get those actors to do that? Like, we would have normally just shot the doubles and shot a couple close-ups of this. You know? And the second movie that was really influential was 300. We saw what the Hong Kong guys were doing, and then Chad, myself, and Damon, we really put our model on that. And then it was like we had a boot camp and we trained the crap out of them. And then it sort of became like, this is what we want to do. And like every movie that we do as a second unit director or as a stunt coordinator, we're going to pitch that the actor can do a lot of this stuff if you give us 6 weeks. And so we brought that through our whole career as action directors, and into the first John Wick, where we trained Keanu exhaustively for that movie, and he delivered, you know, and it's like he's doing so much, he's doing so much in front of the lens. He did set the bar for all the actors that came after him for the, you know, that we worked with. And I think, you know, from John Wick, You know, the next film that I did was Atomic Blonde, and we did the same thing with Charlize.
Yep.
In a lot of your work, your more recent work, there is a hint of slapstick. There's a little bit of comedy in that action.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like you go to martial arts school and they're like, all right, here's some real techniques, here's the funny techniques. Like there's no school for slapstick necessarily.
No.
How did you develop your sense of physical comedy?
I love comedy, I really do. So it was like fun to get the opportunity to do Deadpool 2 and like then work with like one of the amazing comedic geniuses of our time, Ryan Reynolds, and like work with him for 2 years making that movie, right? It was like a dream come true. Like we got to do so much fun, irreverent, crazy stuff. And now I think that experience will never leave me as I'm moving forward, you know, Bullet Train, the silence fight.
To me, like this is a masterclass scene because you first have a very dynamic, well-directed, well-edited, well-acted dialogue scene before this, and then you go into a fight scene, and you know Brad Pitt's had experience. I don't know about the other actor, how much fight experience. Brian. I don't know how much fight experience he has had, but you make them both look like very clean, efficient assassins. And you have all the character beats in the fight scene. It's not just physical action from far away. It's character beats up close. Like everything in here is like super high effort. It's like the hardest you can make it for yourself, I feel like.
I'm glad you see that. You know, I think people don't understand like how many specific setups. We shooting one camera, there is probably, I'm guessing, there's probably like 60 setups in that whole sequence. And it's all based on the comedic timing of these beats, right? The camera's in a different spot to catch the moment. It's part of the sensibility of Bullet Train. Like it was a live action anime. And we were like, this moment tells this moment tells that, this moment tells this. It's one way to make a movie, and it was the right way to make the version we were trying to tell. Like even like how the camera's now tilting and then it tilts the other way for this side.
You the insert shot, the Meg coming down.
The Meg coming out, yep.
Slapped out of the way.
He's hitting in the window. This is now the slow-mo beat.
Revealing.
Now, we've done a lot of action comedy on our YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
And the challenging thing about action comedy is like you have to make every single moment a story moment in your fight scene.
Yes.
And just, it's so much work. It's like, imagine shooting a montage where every setup is like an intense hour-long setup. But they're only on screen for 2 seconds at a time.
That's it. We had the most fun making this movie, and it was a really sort of intimate time with this group of actors, and you know, everybody trusted the vision of it, that we were making this sort of like a madcap, you know, adventure on a train, and everybody leaned in.
So it seems like Fall Guy couldn't have been directed by a more perfect person for the job than you. And it seems like such a unique gem of a movie to have a movie about stunt work, directed by somebody who's spent their career doing stunt work and stunt coordinating. It seems like a perfect movie to go check out. If you're watching this series, Fall Guy is made for you, you should go check it out.
I already know from the scenes that we just watched that there's so much love and heart in it. So I'm really grateful for you guys making and continuing to create, and for sitting on the couch with us today.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's been a blast.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
I'd love to do it
so
again.
much, David.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Cool.
Thanks everybody.